Most men don't realize this, but when a woman is not interested, she doesn't reject you directly. She slowly removes herself, emotionally, mentally, and behaviorally. And the first sign is subtle, but once you notice it, you can never unsee it. She stops investing effort. Not effort to impress you, effort to connect. Her replies become shorter. Her curiosity fades. She no longer builds on conversations. It's not that she's busy, it's that you're no longer a priority in her emotional system. A woman who is interested finds reasons to stay engaged. A woman who isn't finds reasons to disengage, quietly. Now here's where most men make a mistake. They try harder, and that leads to the second sign. She lets you lead everything. You start every conversation, you suggest every plan, you carry every emotional moment. She goes along, but she doesn't contribute. This isn't shyness, this isn't playing hard to get, this is passive disengagement. Interest creates participation. Disinterest creates compliance. And compliance is dangerous because it feels like progress when it's actually stagnation. Now listen carefully to the third sign, because this one is psychological. She avoids emotional depth with you. The conversation stays safe, surface level, neutral. She doesn't open up. She doesn't challenge you. She doesn't react strongly, positively or negatively. Why? Because emotional neutrality is how people stay detached. A woman who feels something will risk emotional exposure. A woman who doesn't will protect her emotional boundaries by staying shallow. Now, here's something most men misinterpret. They think, she's calm, she's mature, she's easygoing. No, she's emotionally absent. Let's move to the fourth sign, and this one hurts, but it's important. She doesn't miss you. When you disappear, nothing changes. No curiosity, no checking in, no subtle reach-outs. Time passes and she's perfectly fine. Interest creates emotional disturbance in absence. Disinterest creates emotional silence. If your absence brings peace instead of curiosity, that's information, not a challenge. Now pause for a moment. If these patterns already sound familiar, this channel exists for exactly this reason, helping men understand reality early instead of suffering later. Staying subscribed helps you see these dynamics clearly, without chasing or guessing. Now let's go deeper, because the fifth sign is one men almost always ignore. The fifth sign is this. She keeps you emotionally separate from her life. You don't cross into her inner world. You don't meet the people that matter to her. You don't hear about her real problems. You're not included in her future-oriented thinking. You exist, but on the outside. This is intentional. When a woman is interested, she naturally integrates you. When she isn't, she compartmentalizes you. You become a conversation, not a presence. And here's the key detail most men miss. She's not doing this to hurt you. She's doing it to avoid attachment. Now, the sixth sign is where confusion really starts. She responds, but doesn't reciprocate emotionally. She answers your messages, she laughs politely, she's not rude, but there's no emotional momentum, no warmth building, no tension, no pull. This is where men tell themselves, at least she's still talking to me. But communication without emotional investment is maintenance, not attraction. She's keeping the door unlocked, not inviting you inside. Now let's talk about the seventh sign, the clearest one of all. She doesn't try to keep your attention. She doesn't care if conversations fade. She doesn't care if plans fall through. She doesn't care if the connection weakens. Because when interest is gone, urgency disappears. A woman who values you protects the connection. A woman who doesn't lets it drift effortlessly. Now here's the uncomfortable truth most men avoid. Disinterest is rarely loud. It's quiet, slow, and polite. And that's why it traps men, because nothing bad happens. Things just never move forward. Now listen carefully to this next part, because this is where power shifts back to you. When you recognize these signs early, the correct response is not to convince, explain, or perform. The correct response is self-respect through withdrawal. Not anger, not punishment, not silence games. Just calm detachment. When you stop investing where interest isn't returned, one of two things happens. Either she fades completely, which saves you time, or she feels the shift and reevaluates her position. Both outcomes protect your value. If this perspective feels different from what you've heard before, that's because most advice teaches men to chase clarity. High-value psychology teaches men to observe behavior. Now, before we go further, understand this. A woman losing interest is not a failure. It's information. And men who respect information don't argue with it. They move accordingly. There's still one crucial layer left to understand: what not to do when you realize she's not interested. This is where most men destroy their chances permanently. Here's what not to do when you realize she's not interested, and this is where most men permanently lower their value. Do not ask for reassurance. The moment you say things like, "Did I do something wrong? Are you still interested? Why are you acting different?" You're not seeking clarity, you're seeking emotional relief, and attraction does not respond to emotional pressure. When a woman senses that your emotional state depends on her answer, her respect drops, even if she feels sympathy. Now, the next mistake is subtle but deadly. Do not overinvest to fix the situation. More texts, more compliments, more effort. This feels logical, but psychologically, it does the opposite. Interest grows when value feels scarce, not when it floods the space. Overinvestment communicates one message: I am afraid to lose you, and fear collapses polarity. Now listen carefully to this next point, because this is where high-level psychology comes in. Do not confront her emotionally. Statements like, "You've changed. I feel like you don't care anymore. You're leading me on." Even if they're true, they don't create attraction. They create emotional labor. And when a woman associates you with emotional burden, desire shuts down. Now, here's the move that actually preserves your power. You match her level of investment, calmly. If she pulls back, you don't chase. If she slows down, you slow down. If she disengages, you disengage, without drama. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional alignment. You're simply refusing to invest more than what's being returned. And here's the paradox most men don't understand. When you stop trying to hold her interest, you become more attractive than when you try to secure it. Because confidence is not loud, it's unreactive. Now, let's talk about the psychological shift that happens when you do this. When you pull your energy back without explanation, one of two things happens. If she truly wasn't interested, she lets it go. No confusion, no resentment. Clean ending. If she was uncertain or emotionally testing, she feels the change. She starts wondering, why isn't he chasing? Did I misread his value? Why do I suddenly feel the distance? And notice something important here. You didn't create interest. You simply removed free access. Attraction only reacts when value feels at risk. Now this is where many men sabotage themselves. They feel the urge to check in, to send one more message, to explain their silence, to reopen the door. That one move undoes everything. High-value presence means being okay with either outcome, because the goal is not to be chosen at any cost. The goal is to be chosen freely or not at all. Now, here's the deeper truth most people never say. A woman not being interested is not rejection, it's redirection. It tells you where not to place your energy, and men who respect their own time never chase uncertain attention. If you're starting to see attraction differently already, this channel goes deeper into behavior, psychology, and calm masculine presence without manipulation or games. We don't teach men how to get women. We teach men how to stop losing themselves. There's one final perspective left, the one that separates confident men from emotionally reactive ones. Here's the final part, and this is the most important layer of all. When a woman is not interested, the real test is not her behavior, it's how you respond to it. Most men think confidence is about persistence. It's not. Confidence is the ability to walk away without resentment. When you stay calm, grounded, and emotionally self-contained, something powerful happens internally. You stop measuring your worth by her response, and that's the moment your energy changes. Because the most unattractive signal a man can send is, "I need this to work." Needing an outcome creates tension. Tension kills attraction. Now understand this clearly. If a woman senses that you're okay whether she stays or goes, you instantly move into a different psychological category, not because you ignored her, not because you acted distant, but because you demonstrated self-respect, and self-respect is rare. Here's what high-value men do instead. They keep their routines. They stay socially engaged. They continue improving their lives without trying to provoke a reaction. No announcements, no explanations, no emotional speeches, just quiet forward movement. And here's the paradox. Sometimes this causes her interest to resurface. Sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you win. Because you didn't trade your dignity for attention. You didn't chase uncertainty. You didn't shrink to fit someone else's confusion. Now, let me be very clear before we end. This is not about playing hard to get. This is not about manipulation. This is about alignment. If she's interested, your energy meets hers. If she's not, you let go, cleanly. That emotional clarity is what makes a man dangerous in the best way. Not aggressive, not controlling, unshakable. And the man who is unshakable never needs to ask where he stands. If this perspective helped you see attraction more clearly, stay connected to this channel. We break down female psychology, human behavior, and calm masculine presence without chasing, forcing, or pretending. Because the man who understands himself never fears losing someone who was never aligned to begin with.